given moment, we have two options: step forwards into growth or step back into safety. Dare to succeed and share a moment with us in the moment.
Hello and welcome to another episode of In the Moment with Vicky and Alice. How are you doing?
I'm fucking knackered.
Show everyone your nice new bra.
Are you ready, guys?
Hi,
That's quite dramatic, wasn't it? What do we think? Woo!
I think everyone's probably just looking at your tits, mate, to be fair.
The back.
It is very nice, very you, very nice, sporty. Beastie. Look at them shoulders.
Look at that.
I know.
Can you see it now?
All right, flexy flex. That's well good.
That.
Yeah, I love it when people get that V on their shoulder. That's like goals for me. Get a V. Yeah.
Bro. I've proper got like the striations in my shoulders at the minute. Like, can you see them?
Got what? What you call them?
Striations. Can you see like the lines going across?
Why are they called striations?
I don't know.
I don't even know what that fucking means.
I don't know if it's like the muscle fibers. Yeah, look.
Does have fibers?
Yes. In my chest.
I'm just like, okay, yeah. Strange.
Fun show.
So you're looking very tanned as well. I look so pasty.
I have not had a sunbed for like a week.
Oh dear, a whole week.
I'm gonna go tomorrow though. And then I'm gonna go on one of the spaceship ones at Indigo Sun in Aberdeen at the weekend. I'm fucking buzzing.
Treat yourself.
Yeah, do you know, like in the tanning shop, the huge fucking spaceship ones? Them ones.
When they say you're going to Ibiza, you're like, I'm going to go to Mars this week.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So anyway, last week on the podcast, we spoke about your prep and sort of left it on in a really probably downer about how awful it was post that second show.
Yeah. I did have a few people message me off the back of that. And they were like, wow. Like literally, wow. One person was like, I'm actually really shocked that you didn't totally give it up. And was saying like they're obviously really looking forward to listening to the rest. Because I said that we were going to be talking about like how it affected like my relationship with Ross. And you know, people just see the photos of being on stage and they just think it's just like being in a deficit, but it really isn't.
You want to
everything.
Do you want to start there then? Do you want to start about how it sort of like, do you want to go in chronological order? So post show that you've just walked off stage, finished that show, like what's the crack?
So I literally stormed off stage as quickly as I could. I was like, get it medal off me. I just wanted it off. I threw it in my suitcase, sat on the floor, took my bottle of wine out of my suitcase. I just sat there and I cried, drank my wine, and I was like, I feel like shit. I feel like shit. But no, so came off stage, and then I think I pretty much saw you and Becky like straight away.
Yeah, I don't think it was long.
Because I got off stage and my coach was
shit. That's what I remember. You were so fucking miserable.
I was fuming. I got off stage and then obviously Ross was there, and my coach was there. And he was just like so laid back about it. And I was just like, my eyes were just streaming. I just could not stop crying. I was in like hysterics. You know, when like you're just about to come on your menstrual cycle and you're like all emotional and you just can't really explain it and it's just like happening. Like that was me after my show. But little did I know I was literally on the verge of like an emotional breakdown because my hormones were through the floor. And I just felt so negative and so down. I was like, yeah, it was just such a dark place. Came off stage and then obviously saw them, saw you and Becky, and then me and Ross went off, and then one of the first things that Ross said to me was, I don't think I can prep with you again. And I was like, oh. So to me, like, obviously that felt like an ultimatum. Like, I had to choose. But obviously at that point, my mindset was very like, not, I don't know, like my mind just wasn't me.
Very rational. It wasn't
Yeah.
rational. It was all
Yeah,
just.
so I saw that as like an attack on me. So automatically it was like my defense went up, and I was like, whatever. Do you know when you're like, the only way I can describe it is like, I don't know if you ever feel like this, but when you drink and you're maybe not necessarily that emotional state, that emotionally stable, and then you get to a certain point with drinking, and then something will happen and it just triggers you, and instantly you're like angry, and like I can't even, that's how I would describe it. I don't know if that's ever happened to you.
So you felt, was it more of an impulse? Is that what it was? Felt like just an impulsive, immediate feeling that you didn't have control over?
Yeah, like anger. And I was just like I just felt pissed off, and I just thought, like, I was like, that is so selfish, like, for you to say something like that. But at the time, obviously, I wasn't thinking about everything that I'd put him through and put us through in as a couple. Like, I wasn't thinking about that. I was just thinking about me at the time, and like what I wanted to do, and not even thinking like, because when you're in that headspace, or where I was anyway, it was like everything else, like I wasn't doing anything wrong, and like I wasn't acting differently or anything like that. I just felt like I was just being me, but obviously I really wasn't. So yeah, so that was that. And then once he'd said that, we kind of just like, I don't know, he, like, obviously I was getting pulled into different stalls to get like photos and stuff with different like supplement companies and things like that. And I think Ross found it really difficult, and almost felt like he was being left behind to a certain degree. And then I looked up and like looked for him, and I couldn't find him anywhere. And I was like, where's he gone? And obviously he just walked off, and he was like, well, you were doing that. So I was like, all right, okay. So it was just like there was friction there afterwards. Like, obviously he was really, really proud of me, but he was clearly just really upset because of how much I drifted away as a person, and how I probably wasn't necessarily being me, which now I look back and I'm like, I really wasn't. So yeah, and then after that, it was just like a downhill spiral, to be honest, with food mainly. And like my head was just shot. Like, actually, so once the show and everything was over, we'd obviously come back home, and then it was like, what do I do now? Like, my coach had not given me much support. And he was telling me like the food and stuff, like after a contest prep, even after like even a photo shoot prep, your calories should go straight back up to maintenance. Your food should be bumped straight up, you know, because your hormones need to kind of like recover and stuff like that. And you need to put the body fat back on, because being in prep and like being stage lean isn't healthy at all, and it's not sustainable. So like you need to get your body back to that like state, not, I want to say as quickly as possible, but like you don't want to get fat. So he'd said to me that we were still going to run no carb days, and we were still going to do like an hour's worth of cardio every day. And for me, I was like, I can't. Like, I was just like, no. And I just wanted to rebel against that. And like, because I'd been restricted for so long, I just wanted to sabotage myself. Like, I physically wanted to. And like, I knew by doing it wasn't going to help me, but I still chose to do it anyway. Like, I would look at, say, like a cookie or an Oreos or whatever, and I'd be like, right, I can either eat this right now, get that instant like kick, that instant pleasure, or I could say no. I was like, what's the point? Just eat it.
So then how long did you sort of stick in that mentality for? So I know after prep, we had quite a lot of conversations around things in your life and how things were going to, you know, play out and what it is that you wanted and how that works out and sort of difficulties and things. How long were you sort of in that headspace for of eating crap and feeling shitty?
So in the first week, I put on 10 kilos. But the thing is,
week,
in a week,
10 kilos, that's like 2 stone in it.
yeah, it's a lot. But my obviously, like, due to the lack of thyroid support, and like my estrogen and stuff being through the floor, it did make my body a little bit more sensitive to weight gain. So already, like, I had no chance. So yeah, but the thing is, like, I didn't even realize it was weird. Like, it literally just happened. And I just kind of like ballooned up. But anyway, yeah, so it took a while, like months.
I would have said it was months.
Yeah. Like, headspace wise, I probably wasn't totally back to normal until, I say normal, probably like November.
Okay.
What's that, like September, October, November, two and a bit months. I remember we were in the kitchen and we just done the food shop and something had happened and I just laughed. And then Ross started crying and he was like, I have missed that so much. He was like, I have literally missed you so much. And I
How
was
did it
like,
make you feel?
just sad, like so sad. Because at the time, I didn't realize, like, obviously I knew I was a cabbage and I had like zero energy, but I didn't realize it had like such an impact, you know. And I think, like, for me, like, I'm quite an affectionate person. So when that started to go, because we've not been through this process before, when that started to go, Ross thought like I was drifting away and like I was going to leave him and things like that because I was dramatically changing as a person. So obviously that's going to be scary. And if it was the other way around and we'd not been through prep and it was Ross prepping for the first time, I would have been exactly the same. Whereas like this time with Ross prepping, I know exactly what's coming. So it's almost like I've switched off from that. Because when you're in a relationship, I don't know about other people, but like Ross and I, we are quite affectionate. We are quite like needy for each other sometimes. So as soon as I noticed it starting to go with Ross, it's almost like I've had to switch my brain and think, right, I need to kind of switch off from wanting cuddles and wanting this and that. But you know, there has been moments where I have been like, can I have a cuddle? And he's like, absolutely. But like, I'm not putting that extra pressure on because I know exactly what he's going through.
Do you feel like Ross has changed? Obviously, like Ross's first shows this weekend, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
Ross isn't Ross.
yeah, do you feel like he's changed?
Yeah. It's just it is literally just part of the process. But because we've already been through it, and because I have physically been through it, and like we've spoken before, like when you can take yourself out of a situation and like watch it back, like I can do that now with what I went through with prep. And like now I can pick up on all the moments where it's like things started to change and like just even little things, like I wouldn't post a lot on social media, and just things like that. But yeah, like Ross isn't Ross.
Do you
Like,
feel like, does Ross know he's not Ross?
I don't know, maybe, yeah, I think so. We don't really, to be honest, like it's a process and doing this serves a purpose. Like we're doing it for stage, and it's like we know after this show in a couple of weeks, in like a month or so, things will just go back to normal. So it is just something you kind of have to stick out.
Does it put you off going in prep again though?
So it did, because I had like a really, really deep conversation with you about it, didn't I? Where I was like, Jesus, it literally nearly broke us up.
But I think as well, that was partly after that was partly to do with the fact that you dog sat and then your maternal instincts kicked in.
Yeah, I was like, fuck it, do I just give everything up and be like a full-time dog mom? I was like, no. But no, it was like that part. I think that part when I was talking to you about that, it was like my mind was like just coming back round and I was like exploring. I think it just made me realize, like, and made me kind of like visualize what my options are in life and what do I really, really want. Because for me, I was like, because at this point, we didn't know that Ross was going to be competing and prepping in December. So for all we knew, Ross wouldn't be doing it until this year. So I was like, do I really want to potentially put us through that again? But the more and more I spoke to Erin, and like the more and more I spoke to other professionals in the industry, that made me realize that the way I was prepped before is not the most optimal. So when I prep again, or if I was to prep again, it wouldn't be that difficult. Like when I look at Ross's prep, I'm like, fucking hell, this has been a walk in the park for you.
I swear he's had a lot of fucking food.
Yeah, so this is the thing, like obviously men, I want to say it's easier for men, but it is easier for the male body to lose body fat. It is so much harder for women. Like women do get a harder ride with it. But yeah, no. And I think so obviously since Ross has been with Ali, he's been through that cycle a few times of obviously gaining, cutting. So his body composition was like really, really optimal to begin with. And obviously this is where my starting point for prep last year wasn't, most optimal. I was really quite fat, which then didn't really start my fat for me, guys. It didn't really start my prep off in the right foot anyway. So it was like I was already fighting a losing battle to begin with. Like prepping for like a show or a shoot or whatever starts at the beginning of your off season. Like you need to make sure that your off season is optimal to then be able to make sure that your prep is optimal. And then, it's just like a cycle going on. So yeah, it took a while, and it's weird. I genuinely would be like when I was through the floor after prep, I'd think back to the person, so like me before prep, and I think like, who even was that? Will I ever be her again? That was quite scary.
I'm a big believer when people are like, I just need to go back to, like, when people have lost weight previously, or like your prep, and they're just like, oh, I just need to go back to how I was before. If how you were before was how you're supposed to be, then you'd never need to go back to it. So there's obviously elements that you're missing in the previous version of you that you've now gained through this experience, that you move forward. So it always baffles me when like, oh, I just need to go back to.
When I said I went like going back to me, I was like, me as in like being affectionate and being happy and being like that person.
Yeah, I just mean in general, like fat loss, when people are like, I need to go back, when they had that motivation and discipline. But if that motivation and discipline was enough, they would never have gone
off that.
Yeah, off that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, I get that. Yeah,
like
I do.
learning, like you don't go back, you utilize those skills and then you push them forward.
Yeah. And like I do think everything in life we do, everything we come across is a lesson. Like literally everything. Like I was telling you about that cake I was doing today. Like I had that mentality where every single time something went wrong, I was like, this is the universe trying to teach me something here. Like this is a learning lesson. And I did learn from it.
What was your lesson from learning? Like...
So with the ganache layer, because rather than crumb coat it, so obviously when you've got your sponges, you stack them. See, typically I would freeze the sponges first and then buttercream them. But because our freezers are rammed, I was not able to freeze them. So I had to, this is why I used ganache, because it sets solid. It's basically like, it's just chocolate and cream. And then when you spread it and then put it in the fridge overnight, it sets solid. So then you can like chisel away any kind of like unevenness. So I'd done that. And then I'd kind of like painted the outsides with edible glue and then put my print over it, like the edible print, because it's a paint pot. I put it on and I was like, as time was going on and I was doing the bits on top, I was like, it's wrinkling. And at the time I was like, I can't get my head around it. I was like, I genuinely don't know what's going on here. And it was freaking me out. And I was like, in my mind, I was like, I'm a failure. Like, I can't do cakes and this and that. And I was like, no, this is clearly a learning lesson here. So I was like, right, sit back, think, what can I do that's going to work? Like, what can I do here? Like, so I essentially just put another coat of ganache on. So it was almost like a little bit thicker, but I didn't leave it to completely dry. I waited for it to be a bit tacky, and then I put the new edible print on, smoothed it out, and I was like, got it, done. So it was stressful. And at the time I was like, I just couldn't get my head around it. I was like, why? I was like, why is this fucking happening to me?
That is literally how I feel now in my life. Like, what?
Yeah.
I literally said to Mum on the phone, if it was supposed to be, it shouldn't be this hard.
Yeah.
Like,
no, honestly, I completely agree.
I just feel like if, everything else, like selling the house and moving up here, like all of it was just so easy and happened like so in sync that now I'd feel like I just keep hitting barriers.
Yeah, it's the universe trying to tell you that what you're doing right now is not what you're supposed to be doing. It's
And I really like trying to evaluate that, but then it's so hard. It's so hard because I think sometimes what your head knows, and like it's like your head and your heart. Like your heart is like you know where you need to be, Vicky, and my head's like, well, that's not safe, that's not logical, and picks all the flaws in it. So then I just go, yeah, like fuck my heart, let's just be logical about this. And I always go back to my rational brain.
Yeah.
And that's
the thing, like it needs to scare you. Because obviously
things can scare you, like prep can be scary. Before, like for me now,
I don't feel scared for next time.
I feel fucking terrified to go into prep. Like I literally feel, but my fear is down to failure. And I spoke about this a little bit last week on our like live workshop. Well, it was after the live workshop and someone asked me a question about like your thoughts and your beliefs and all those things that don't do things, is that fear, and it's the fear of failure that holds me here. The fear of failure is the reason I grabbed that bag of sweets, because if I'm eating the sweets then I'm guaranteed to fail, and that's okay because I controlled that failure.
Yeah, it's being in control of something, isn't it?
It's crazy.
This is a thing. Go on.
When you were like in your hair is hilarious. Anyone that's watching, Alice is just
this isn't my hair though. This is extensions.
Like,
my hair is pretty long though naturally now. Where is it? There.
Oh yeah, that's all right. Don't need extensions. What
when you these bad boys.
Like for anyone like listening, obviously the hair chat, great chat. Is there any sort of advice or tips you'd give people, like A, people that are thinking about prep, and B, people that are in like mentally draining headspaces and feel like they're stuck in that? What advice would you give them?
So number one, research a coach. I think that is like the biggest thing, to be honest. And like I have said to you before, the whole process that I went through last year, I do take part blame because I didn't research coaches. I didn't look to see who's out there. I literally just saw one person, didn't bother to speak to any of their current clients or anything like that to see how the coaching process is, this and that. I just jumped ships.
What about your actual prep though? Like for people, even if you've got like the top notch coach in the business,
Yeah.
what if people are still like worried about going through that prep and their mental health deteriorating?
So it's one of those things like you really do need to explore and establish your why. So why do you want to do it? And if like your why isn't really significant enough, then I personally wouldn't put yourself through it, because it's hard. Like it is physically and mentally very difficult. And you just need to evaluate whether it's actually worth it or not. Because like for me, I'm a competitor and I do want to push as far as I can with it. I do believe that I've got good potential to do well. So for me, it is worth it. And I think investing in a coach that clearly knows her shit and is currently going through the process herself as well, I think that is a big like important factor. And she specializes in it as well. So, you know, there's that related. No, I was going to say relatability, but that's not the word, is it? Have I made that up?
I don't know, but it sounds like a legit word.
It does, doesn't it?
They're relatable,
So,
relatability.
yeah. So, you know, I can relate to her there because she knows exactly what I'm going through, like on hand, literally. So yeah, I would definitely say that, but it's very tough, like very tough. And then you need to establish like your support system, your lifestyle. Does your lifestyle support it? Because if you're somebody that likes to go out every other weekend and socialize, you know, that might become a barrier and it might make things very difficult. Support system,
Analysing what you're willing to give up as well, isn't it?
it's not even give up, it's just put on hold for a little while. But I'd say like the support system is very important as well, because I know when I was doing it, there was another woman that my coach at the time was prepping, but her partner wasn't probably the best, like most supportive. So he would just always be like, oh, what are you doing that for? And like it's constantly putting doubts in her head. So she actually ended up dropping out in the end. But like, yeah, you need to have that support system and people who want you to do well, and you know, so yeah, there's loads of things to establish, and finance is definitely a big thing as well because it is so expensive.
When I first started on the weight loss journey, I actually used to save money because what I used to spend on takeaways and crap, I was then obviously saving. But then the more I've got into it, and the more like I have supplements now,
It's the supplements.
and like it is literally just. I mean, I have like 6 or 7 in an evening now, and they're not fucking cheap.
No, me and Ross were saying this the other day because like
Oh, then
even
your protein's not cheap, and then your EAAs, and then creatine, like for workout, and then I've got like cyclic dextrin.
yeah, it all adds up. And like even I said to Ross the other day, I was like, I fucking love that glutathione. I do not like having to spend 45 quid on it. But when it comes to your health, like you shouldn't skimp on it. And like I say this in all my welcome videos to clients, like the reason we supplement is because we are missing certain, like, that's not a liquid form though, is it?
No, nor do I like the liquid forms.
Why?
Do you know what it was? It was because I once had fucking Nordic fish oil as a liquid. And
Yeah.
shit, it was I can't even tell people. Do not recommend. Do not buy. Like it. I felt like I was literally barking every time I had to have it in my mouth. I was like, ugh. So now I have the Nordic fish oil stuff.
Yeah, I think I've put those on my supplement sheet now. But yeah, just like glutathione, that's like 40 quid. And then
I got this one as well. You told me to get
curcumin, that's good for inflammation. So take that, like you take that as far away from training as possible, because when you train, you do want that little bit of inflammation. You do want the blood to go into the muscle.
Oh. So
yeah.
what? The second part of that question was just completely distracted. What advice would you give someone that maybe is like struggling right now and feels like stuck in their mental health?
Well, I think you just need to establish like when you say mental health, that's quite a broad.
Okay, let's say that someone feels like stuck in their mindset, like feels down, feels like there's
You need to
nothing
fix that.
positive. You
need to like try and work on that first, because the last thing you want to then do is put yourself through a prep. It obviously definitely helps to go through like a photo shoot prep first, because it's very similar. It's just not as aggressive. I mean, to be honest, like you could go, it depends how lean you want to get, to be honest, though.
What about sort of like people that aren't looking at prep or anything, like literally the general public that maybe are just having an experience like you had following prep of sort of not being like in the right mind?
Get your bloods done. Get your bloods done and check to see where your hormones are at, because that can play a huge role. Like that, it's almost that like depression like feeling. I'm pretty sure that's to do with estrogen, testosterone as well, like feeling groggy and stuff like that. Yeah, my testosterone was like through the floor. So, and like women need to be at like a certain physiological range to be normal. Like when I say normal, I mean just like not feeling like shit all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Get your bloods done and get them checked. Bloods, because that will explain, like it will literally explain so much. And you'll be like, fucking hell. And then like even just for me introducing TRT, which is a testosterone replacement therapy, in introducing a really, really minute dose of that has dramatically changed me. And it's because I'm now at a physiological range which is naturally where I should be. So yeah, it's just the little things, like when you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh my God, I feel groggy, I feel shit, like I don't want to get out of bed. I don't get that anymore. Get your bloods done.
Yeah, maybe I need to get my bloods done. Maybe that's what's the matter with me.
Yeah, honestly, get them done, and then we'll have a look at them. But I mean, your testosterone, if anything, will be higher.
Oh yeah, well, my facial hair tells us that.
You're not on like contraception or anything, are you?
No, but did I show you my arm the other day?
No.
Oh, so I literally was sat in my bed, and this was last Wednesday, so a week ago. I was just sat here doing my work, typing up, and I felt like my arm just started like hurting. I mean, you can see a little bit now. My arm just started hurting, and then I got up out of bed, and I couldn't even put any pressure on it. Like the pain was unreal.
Yeah.
I got out of bed, looked in the mirror. Well, over the next 2 days, I end up at A&E.
Oh yeah, you did show me.
Like the whole arm just swelled up and went like bright red. So now, try and show you can you see the lump? So I'm pretty sure you won't be able to see on the camera because it's a crap camera.
I can see it. Is it like a cyst or something?
I think it's turning out to be a blister. So I think something bit me or stung me, because it's actually past my scar. So my scar finishes like here, and then the lump is after. So I think something's bit me or stung me, and it's actually caused a humongous blister.
So is that like, do you reckon the penicillin has like just drawn everything out?
No, I think it was like that anyway. So do you know when I get bit, my body will go, pfft, and then as this like body stops reacting so aggressively, the swelling and redness reduces, and then it ends up with like a lump and the bite.
Yeah.
That's essentially what's happened.
Wow.
But I mean, it's not going down much now. Part of me feels like I just need to pop it. Hey.
Oh.
But it's not got a head on.
But is it like, when you get like a blister, like I really like them. I sound like a right freak. When you get the blisters on like the back of your feet, like on your heels.
You pop them.
Yeah, and then I'm really bad for just like picking the skin.
Yeah, people. I think. Well, it's either that or it's just a bit. I don't know. I don't think it's something to do with mascara up though,
No,
because
I don't think so either.
it's it's not quite in the right place. I don't know, but there you
Not
go.
hurt as much now.
No, I can touch it now. I mean, it does
Mm.
hurt, but I mean, we realised my pain threshold is stupidly fucking high anyway.
Yeah.
So, it's no
Oh.
like it got that bad. That's why I went to A&E because I physically the pain was like
Mm.
killing me. So it must be bad if I'm in pain.
I
Like,
think as well, like just given like the fact you've not long had surgery, it's better to be safe than sorry.
the weird thing is, apparently, when you have surgery, sometimes people can get like air bubbles trapped in their body, and it can last like months.
Oh wow.
So, do you remember when I came around from surgery and I said to you about my foot that I keep getting a pain like down the back of my foot, and you were like, "I have no idea."
I don't
Um,
know off the top of my head.
it keeps happening. So literally today I went to walk Pixie, and I could literally barely walk.
Really?
Like it's, and then out of nowhere it'll be absolutely fine. It's like the tendon or ligament that goes up the back of your leg from your heel
Yeah.
straight up. It's like on that bit there that it
Oh
just
wow.
it's like chronic pain that I can't literally weight bear on the foot.
Have you
And then
spoken to someone about it?
no, don't do things like that. And then I literally like would walk for like 20 minutes. So I went for like a 20-minute walk Pixie, hobbling down the street and hobbled back, got
Oh,
home. I've been resting. I'll get up now and it'd be fine. I won't even know it's been a thing. Absolutely bizarre.
it's so strange.
Bizarre. But yeah, they say when I came around from surgery as well, I got cracking pain on and off in my like shoulder blade neck bit here.
Yeah.
And they say that's like really common for air bubbles to get trapped in.
And is there any way of like getting rid of them, or is it just a case of
Just where your body will just naturally process it.
wow, that's
Yeah.
mental?
Anyway, there we go. Well, that was a short and sweet episode into the life of Alice's.
Into my prep. But yeah, I will be prepping again next year. So exciting times. I think we're gonna do Erin's mentioned doing a couple of shows like abroad next year.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be exciting.
Yeah. So yeah, because she was saying to me the other day, the other week, she was like, oh, I wish you were prepping this year. Like, I wish you were competing this year. She was like, but no, next year will be our year. I feel like I have made so much progress in such like short period of time. Like my body is responding so well now.
I
And
mean,
I
they
think,
do say the smaller you are, the easier it is to build muscle as well, and you're fucking tiny.
have you seen how small my legs are?
I just said it's easier to build muscle. I didn't say it was still going to be quick and efficient, but they do say it's easier.
But it's just because you're shorter limbed, that's all.
Well, there's less muscle to have to build, I assume.
No.
Well, yeah, because your quad muscle would be a tiny proportion of the size of mine. So as I'm working my quads, it's got to fill the whole area out, whereas yours can condense it into one space.
It does also depend on genetics as well.
Well, that's my logic, and I'm sticking with it.
Okay.
Um,
But yeah, oh my god, we will have to document like my prep next year. Like that's gonna be fun.
yeah, look, I think it'd be really good.
Yeah. I'm excited. Like I am excited to prep with Erin. Um, yeah, I am excited. And I just think next year is gonna be like just fucking great. Like this year is gonna be business, smashing it. I was saying that to a client yesterday doing PT. I was like, that it was like my main goal for this year is to literally put my heart and soul into my business to you guys. Obviously into me as well, because if I don't put it into me, then I can't be like the best coach for you lot. And then next year, still business, but it'll be time to prep. So it'll be, yeah, it's just going to be so exciting. And I'm really looking forward to it.
Well,
yeah,
and we've got to go now to go and do our
webinar.
So until next week.
Till next week.